Imagine a digital brain as powerful as the world's most expensive supercomputers, living inside your laptop, working perfectly without an internet connection, and answering to no one but you. This is the cinematic reality that has long been promised by science fiction, yet remained just out of reach for the general public. For years, we have lived under the shadow of the AI Iron Curtain. The most sophisticated neural networks were locked behind corporate firewalls, accessible only through tiered subscriptions and restrictive application programming interfaces. To use them, you had to be online, you had to pay, and you had to play by the rules set by a few powerful boards of directors in Silicon Valley. But today, those walls have effectively crumbled. The era where elite intelligence was the exclusive plaything of the ultra-wealthy and the corporate elite is coming to an abrupt end. The reveal of Google's Gemma 4 represents more than just a software update. It is a declaration of independence for every individual with a computer. It signals a move away from the centralized model of the past toward a decentralized future where you hold the power. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This massive shift comes from Google DeepMind, a name usually associated with proprietary breakthroughs that were rarely shared with the masses. By embracing an open weights philosophy, they are participating in a global rebellion against the very gatekeeping they once helped establish. Gemma 4 is a state-of-the-art open-source model that has been painstakingly optimized to run on consumer-grade hardware. It is no longer necessary to have a server room cooled by industrial fans to access high-level reasoning. The intelligence that once required thousands of dollars in monthly cloud fees can now reside on a standard gaming laptop or even a high-end smartphone. This shift is not merely about technical specifications. It is about the who and the why. Google's transition from closed models to empowering the masses with open technology is a calculated maneuver. For months, the industry was rocked by internal memos suggesting that big tech companies had no moat, that open source developers were moving faster and more efficiently than the giants themselves. Meta's Llama models acted as a catalyst, forcing Google's hand to compete or risk obsolescence in the developer community. If researchers and startups were going to build the future of AI, Google wanted them to do it using their architecture. This released model is now accessible globally, serving as a vital resource for developers, researchers, and tech enthusiasts from all corners of the world. It provides a level of accessibility that levels the playing field for the global south, where internet connectivity can be unreliable, but the hunger for innovation is immense. Why would a multi-billion-dollar company give away their most valuable intellectual property for free? Is it an act of corporate altruism, or is it a strategic strike designed to dismantle the dominance of rivals like OpenAI? The truth is a complex blend of both. By making Gemma 4 open, Google is ensuring its place at the center of the AI ecosystem. If you still believe that artificial intelligence is just a helpful chatbot on a website, you are missing the larger picture. The shift to local, decentralized intelligence is happening with a velocity that most people cannot comprehend. We are moving toward a world where your private data never leaves your device, where your AI assistant knows your deepest preferences without ever sharing them with a corporate server. This is the rise of the AI PC era, where the power of a godlike intelligence is compressed into the silicon chips in our pockets. However, this newfound freedom comes with a significant amount of risk and uncertainty. We are witnessing the death of the AI subscription model and the birth of human sovereignty in the digital age. By moving from the cloud to the edge, we are changing the very nature of how human knowledge is stored and accessed. It is the difference between renting a book from a library that can be closed at any time and owning an infinite library that belongs to you forever. But having the power is one thing, controlling it is quite another. The decision to release such a potent tool into the wild is a high-stakes gamble that could change the internet forever. It raises fundamental questions about safety, ethics, and the future of human-machine interaction that we are only beginning to answer. This is just the start of a journey into a decentralized future where the gatekeepers no longer hold the keys. To understand the magnitude of Gemma 4, we must first examine the architecture of the digital world we are leaving behind. For nearly a decade, the tech industry was defined by a model known as software as a service, or SaaS. In this paradigm, computational power and intellectual property were concentrated within a few massive data centers owned by a select group of giants. When capable AI models like GPT-4 and Gemini Pro emerged, they followed this exact centralized blueprint. They were hosted on distant servers, accessible only through a narrow digital straw, the application programming interface. This arrangement created a class of AI gatekeepers. These corporations held the keys to the kingdom. If you wanted to build an application or conduct research, you had to ask for permission, pay a recurring toll, and hope that the rules would not change overnight. It was an era of centralization where the brains of the digital age were owned by a handful of entities. This centralized structure introduced significant risks that many users overlooked in their initial excitement. The most glaring issue was the potential kill switch. Because the intelligence lived exclusively on a remote server, the provider could cut access at any moment, whether due to policy changes, geopolitical pressure, or simple technical failures. Beyond the threat of losing access, there was the constant shadow of censorship and data privacy. Every prompt you typed, every secret you shared with your assistant, was beamed across the world to a corporate database. The AI gatekeepers decided what you could or could not say, filtering responses through layers of corporate safety that often felt like ideological boundaries. This was the AI Iron Curtain, a system where your tools were never truly yours, and your digital thoughts were never private. This loss of agency was the price of admission for the cloud era. Google DeepMind did not arrive at Gemma 4 by accident. Its lineage can be traced back through years of research, from the early Mina chatbot to the advanced Lambda models that sparked debates regarding machine sentience. For a long time, Google followed the standard industry playbook, keeping its best technology proprietary. However, the landscape shifted dramatically when Meta released its Llama models. Meta's decision to share its model weights acted as a tectonic shift. It proved that a community of developers could improve a base model faster than any single corporation could on its own. This culminated in the legendary leaked memo titled "We Have No Moat, and Neither Does OpenAI." It was a wake-up call for the giants. The secret was out. The real power lay in the hands of the open source community, and the corporations were losing their grip. This leads to an important distinction: the difference between open source and open weights. While pure open source software allows you to see every line of code, an open weights model like Gemma 4 provides the trained intelligence itself, the specific numerical values representing the model's learned experience. It is the difference between being given architectural blueprints and being handed the keys to a building, fully stocked with books and ready for use. By releasing Gemma 4 with open weights, Google DeepMind is handing you the digital brain itself, pre-trained and ready to operate on your own hardware. Moving from cloud AI to Gemma 4 is like moving from a public library to owning your own private library. In a public library, you only read what is on the shelves and someone is always watching. In your own library, you can read at midnight and keep the doors locked. While the public was distracted by the flashy headlines of the latest subscriptions, a silent revolution was brewing in the background. These developers were not interested in renting intelligence. They wanted to own it. They wanted to strip away the filters and prove that a model did not need to be massive to be brilliant. A comparison reveals the stakes. Cloud AI is expensive, tracked, and requires a connection. Local AI is free, private, and offline. Gemma 4 is the pinnacle of that rebellion, the moment the balance of power shifted from the corporate boardroom back to the individual's hard drive. The silent revolution has reached its crescendo, and the era of decentralized intelligence has begun, bringing capabilities once thought impossible for a single machine to achieve. This is the new reality of ownership in the digital age, where sovereignty is returning to the user. The walls that once separated the elite from the average user are no longer standing. The transition from abstract theory to raw, tangible performance is where Gemma 4 truly separates itself from its predecessors. This is no longer merely a research experiment, it is a refined, high-performance engine of logic. When we examine the benchmarks, specifically the MMLU scores, the results are staggering. These scores represent a model's proficiency across dozens of subjects, from ethical philosophy to quantum mechanics. Gemma 4 hasn't just improved, it has vaulted over the hurdles that once limited local AI. In head-to-head comparisons, Gemma 4 is consistently challenging and in some cases overtaking Meta's Llama 3, which had long been considered the reigning champion of the open weights world. This isn't just a win for Google, it's a win for any user who wants world-class intelligence without a monthly subscription. But the true secret sauce of Gemma 4 isn't just its size, it's the way it was built. Google DeepMind employed advanced distillation techniques to create a model that punches far above its weight class. Imagine a master craftsman passing down a lifetime of secrets to a young apprentice. In this scenario, the massive proprietary models, like Gemini Ultra, act as the teachers. They transfer their complex reasoning patterns and vast knowledge bases into the more streamlined architecture of Gemma 4. This allows the smaller model to think and reason with the sophistication of a giant, but with a fraction of the digital footprint. This breakthrough in efficiency means that the requirement for massive server farms has been bypassed. Instead, this intelligence is optimized to thrive on the hardware you already own, such as an NVIDIA GPU or an Apple Silicon chip. This hardware accessibility leads directly to the model's most disruptive feature: absolute and total offline capability. The AI gatekeepers previously controlled the flow of information through an invisible digital tether. If your internet connection flickered or if you were in a dead zone, your access to intelligence vanished. Gemma 4 provides a permanent escape from this dependency. You can operate this model in the heart of a dense forest, in the pressurized cabin of an airplane, or in a basement shielded from all signals. The AI is no longer a guest in your home that requires an invite from the cloud. It is a permanent resident on your hard drive. This is transformative for areas where internet is a luxury. For the first time, a student in a disconnected village has access to the same intellectual power as a researcher at MIT. The implications for privacy and security are equally profound. In the SaaS era, every prompt was a transaction where you traded your data for an answer. Your private thoughts and business secrets were harvested to feed the corporate machine. Gemma 4 changes the fundamental math of privacy. Because the model lives locally, your data never leaves your device. It stays on the silicon, protected by your own security protocols. For law firms, hospitals, and government agencies, this is the holy grail of technology: intelligence without exposure. No logs go back to a central server, and no third-party engineers view your queries. It is a closed loop of human-machine interaction where you are the sole owner of the information. This autonomy extends to how the model is used. Most centralized AI models are heavily filtered or lobotomized by corporate safety layers designed to minimize liability. These filters often hinder experts needing complex data. With Gemma 4, the user regains control through fine-tuning. A developer can take the base model and supercharge it for a specific niche, such as advanced coding, historical research, or medical diagnostics. You can build a tool that speaks your language and understands your specific context. It is the difference between using a generic multi-tool and a custom instrument designed for a master. However, this unprecedented level of power brings us to a difficult realization. By removing the central authority, we also remove the central safety switch. We are handing a tool capable of immense creation and potential destruction to billions of individuals simultaneously. As we dismantle the AI Iron Curtain, we are also dismantling the barriers that once kept certain capabilities in check. Having the power is one thing, but controlling it is another entirely. What happens when the world's most powerful tool is released with no safety rails? The questions of control and safety are inseparable from the economic disruption Gemma 4 brings to the marketplace. This shift in ownership signals the end for the recurring revenue models that have defined the AI industry's infancy. For years, the AI gatekeepers built a toll road around intelligence. If you wanted to process data or generate code, you paid a monthly tribute. But Gemma 4 breaks that cycle. When the intelligence lives on your hard drive, the marginal cost of a prompt drops to the price of the electricity running through your motherboard. This transforms reasoning from a luxury service into a basic utility, much like water or air. It is a massive economic correction. It represents a seismic relocation of power from the server farm to the user's pocket. Beyond the wallet, the impact of decentralized intelligence is felt most strongly in the global south. For the global developer in regions where high-speed fiber is a dream and internet stability is a daily gamble, the cloud was never a reliable partner. It was a distant, fickle authority. By bringing Gemma 4 to the edge, to the local laptop in a rural classroom, or the workstation in a tech hub in Lagos, Google DeepMind has effectively leveled the global playing field. Intelligence is no longer a geographical privilege. This is the ultimate democratization of potential, where the next great breakthrough is just as likely to come from a remote village as a Silicon Valley penthouse. This transition also marks the death of centralized AI censorship. For too long, the AI Iron Curtain was maintained by a rigid set of values dictated by a few boards of directors. These companies decided what was appropriate for a global population with vastly different cultural norms. Gemma 4 introduces the era of neutral AI. Because the model is open weights, the user, not a corporate safety committee, decides the boundaries. This doesn't mean a descent into chaos. It means a return to human sovereignty, where a researcher can use their tools without being lectured by an algorithm programmed 5,000 miles away. The moral compass of the machine is now set by the hand of the owner. For the startup ecosystem, this is an explosion of opportunity. In the SaaS era, many young companies lived in fear of the API cliff. As they scaled, their payments to the AI gatekeepers grew exponentially, often cannibalizing their profits. This created a parasitic relationship where big tech grew richer off the innovations built on their platforms. Gemma 4 removes that ceiling. A small team can now build a sophisticated application on top of this local brain without worrying about a sudden price hike or a service outage. This is the catalyst for a new wave of innovation where the focus shifts from managing cloud costs to creating genuine localized value. Innovation is being liberated from the shackles of centralized corporate debt. We are also witnessing a privacy revolution that is forcing major institutions to rethink their entire digital strategy. Law firms and hospitals, bound by strict confidentiality, have long been wary of the cloud. They could not risk a data breach exposing their internal logs to a third party. Now with Gemma 4, these organizations are pivoting to local models. They are building secure intelligence bunkers where data is processed in-house and never touches the public web. It is the definitive answer to the surveillance capitalism that has dominated the last 2 decades, ensuring that the most intimate parts of our lives and businesses remain absolutely private. Consider a lone developer in a high-security medical environment. Using Gemma 4, they have constructed a private assistant that can analyze patient records and suggest diagnoses, all while being completely disconnected from the internet. This assistant doesn't report to Google. It simply serves the doctor in total silence. This shift creates a looming crisis for the traditional titans. If intelligence becomes a commodity you can download for free, what happens to the valuations of companies that sell access to it? The moat is being filled with the sand of open source progress. The traditional gates are being torn down by the sheer velocity of decentralized code. The AI PC era is the sound of the old world's business model cracking. Intelligence is no longer a product, it is a fundamental right. With the walls of the AI Iron Curtain falling, a polarized debate has ignited within academia and the corridors of power. While the democratization of intelligence is a victory for the individual, it presents a daunting challenge for global security. Critics argue that by releasing the digital brain of Gemma 4 into the wild, we are arming every bad actor with a sophisticated weapon. In a world of centralized AI, the gatekeepers could monitor every prompt and block malicious intent in real time. Without that central watchdog, the fear is that Gemma 4 could be repurposed to generate misinformation, craft malware, or assist in the design of dangerous biological agents. This is the central paradox. The freedom that empowers a student also empowers a criminal. Google DeepMind is not naive to these risks. To counter the narrative of an uncontrolled digital wildfire, they released the Responsible AI Toolkit alongside Gemma 4. This suite of tools is designed to help developers implement their own safety layers, providing a framework for ethical deployment without a corporate kill switch. It represents a shift from safety by permission to safety by design. By providing the tools for evaluation, Google is betting that the collective wisdom of the global developer community will outweigh the malicious actions of a few. It is a philosophy built on the belief that transparency is a more effective shield than secrecy. This leads to the crucial distinction between the black box of proprietary AI and the glass box of Gemma 4. In a closed system like GPT-4, the inner workings are a corporate secret. Researchers cannot see how decisions are made or why certain biases exist. This lack of visibility is a hurdle for scientific progress. Gemma 4, as a glass box, allows the world's researchers to peer into the neural architecture, audit the weights, and understand the mechanics of machine reasoning. This level of scrutiny is vital for building a future where AI is predictable and accountable. For the scientific community, Gemma 4 is a laboratory for human progress. Yet beneath the surface of this transparency lies a calculated corporate strategy. By making Gemma 4 open and highly accessible, Google DeepMind is attempting to define the very language of future AI development. If every developer builds using the Gemma architecture, Google owns the ecosystem's standards. It is a platform play reminiscent of how Android came to dominate mobile. By giving away the model, they are ensuring their technology remains the bedrock for the next generation of software. This creates a gravitational pull that forces hardware manufacturers to optimize for Google's designs, potentially sidelining competitors who remain behind a paywall. This maneuver has placed immense pressure on the AI gatekeepers, most notably OpenAI. For years, the narrative was that proprietary, closed models were the only way to ensure safety and maintain a competitive edge. But as Gemma 4 demonstrates performance that rivals these lockdown systems, the safety argument begins to look more like a profit protection strategy. The rivalry isn't just about the smartest chatbot, it is a battle for the soul of the internet's infrastructure. OpenAI may find itself forced into a corner, having to choose between maintaining its closed-off gardens or opening its secrets to prevent a total exodus of developers. AI visionary Yann LeCun has been a vocal champion of this path, arguing that a closed-source approach to AGI is not only impossible but inherently dangerous. According to LeCun, the only way to achieve safe and beneficial artificial general intelligence is through the collective oversight that only an open-source community can provide. He views the release of models like Gemma 4 as a necessary step in human evolution, ensuring that the most powerful technology is not concentrated in the hands of a few billionaires. We are at a point of no return. We are handing a godlike tool to 8 billion people, effectively decentralizing the power of creation. Some will use this power to build and heal. Others inevitably will seek to destroy. The AI Iron Curtain was a barrier, but it was also a shield. Now that it is gone, the responsibility for the future falls squarely on the individual. There are no more gatekeepers to blame and no more safety nets to catch us. The era of human sovereignty has arrived, and with it, a weight of responsibility that the world is only beginning to comprehend. The digital brain is out of the bottle. As the era of centralized control fades, the practical applications of Gemma 4 are reshaping the very concept of individual productivity and intellectual property. In the realm of creative writing and media production, the shift is profound. For decades, the creative process was increasingly mediated by digital platforms that often claimed a degree of insight, if not outright influence, over the user's data. Today, an author can utilize Gemma 4 to draft entire novels locally, ensuring that every sentence, plot point, and character arc remains within their exclusive intellectual property. There is no risk of a draft being ingested by a corporate training set or flagged by an overzealous cloud-based filter. This creates a sanctuary for artistic expression where the only boundary is the creator's imagination. The model acts as a silent, high-powered collaborator, capable of maintaining complex narrative consistency across hundreds of pages without ever requiring an external server to validate the content. Software development is undergoing a parallel transformation. The modern programmer has grown accustomed to cloud-based co-pilots that offer real-time suggestions. However, for organizations dealing with highly proprietary or sensitive code bases, the risk of leaking trade secrets to a third-party AI provider was a significant barrier. Gemma 4 eliminates this trade-off for the global developer. It allows for a local copilot that resides directly on the developer's machine, capable of indexing and understanding an entire private code base without a single byte of data leaving the internal network. This is not merely about security, it is about speed and deep integration. When the AI brain is integrated into the local development environment, the latency of the internet disappears, allowing for a seamless flow of thought and execution. It turns a laptop into a private research and development lab where proprietary algorithms can be refined in total isolation from the competitive eyes of Silicon Valley. This software revolution is driving a massive shift in the physical world of silicon. We are entering the AI PC era, a fundamental change in how computers are designed and marketed. Giants like Intel, AMD, and Apple are no longer just competing on clock speeds or core counts. They are optimizing their architecture specifically to run models like Gemma 4. Apple's transition to its own silicon was an early indicator of this trend, creating unified memory architectures that allow local AI to flourish with incredible speed. Now, Intel and AMD are embedding dedicated neural processing units directly into their consumer chips. These specialized components are designed to handle the massive matrix multiplications required by Gemma 4 with extreme efficiency. The hardware is no longer just a vessel for applications. It is becoming a dedicated host for local intelligence, transforming the laptop from a window into the internet into a standalone center of cognitive power. Beyond the desk, this decentralized intelligence is migrating to the edge. This refers to the vast network of physical devices that inhabit our world, from autonomous drones to smart home systems and industrial robotics. In the previous era, these devices often relied on the cloud for complex decision-making, leading to delays and privacy vulnerabilities. With Gemma 4, a drone can process its surroundings and navigate complex environments with a high level of reasoning even in areas with zero connectivity. A smart home can manage its security and energy consumption through a local brain that respects the inhabitant's privacy, never sending audio or video feeds to a centralized server. This embedding of intelligence into the physical world creates a layer of ambient reasoning that makes our infrastructure more resilient and responsive. The educational implications are perhaps the most inspiring aspect of this shift. In regions where high-speed internet remains a luxury or a rarity, the digital divide has historically been a barrier to human progress. Gemma 4 changes this equation by providing a private, sophisticated tutor for every child on Earth, regardless of their location. This tutor can explain complex mathematical concepts, translate languages, or provide historical context, all from a low-cost local device. It represents a massive leap toward the democratization of knowledge, moving beyond the static pages of a textbook to an interactive, intelligent mentor that adapts to the student's specific needs. To grasp the scale of this change, one must look back at the Gutenberg printing press. Before the press, knowledge was the exclusive domain of the elite. The press decentralized that knowledge, fueling the Renaissance. Gemma 4 is the modern equivalent. But instead of just distributing information, it is distributing the power of thought and analysis. We are not just witnessing the launch of a new application, we are observing the construction of a new layer of human reality. The tools for invention and problem solving are being distributed to every corner of the globe. This isn't a mere technological update. It is the infrastructure for a future where every individual is an island of immense intellectual capability. The barriers have vanished, leaving only the potential of the human mind. This structural shift represents more than just a technological milestone. It signifies the fundamental democratization of power in the digital age. For the first time since the inception of the internet, the balance of cognitive authority is tilting away from the centralized silos of the AI gatekeepers and toward the individual user. This isn't merely about having a faster tool or a more convenient application. It is about the redistribution of the very essence of modern influence, the ability to process, analyze, and generate intelligence without oversight. When we look at the bigger picture, Gemma 4 is a symptom of a larger, unstoppable movement towards self-reliance. The era of being a mere tenant in a corporate-owned digital landscape is ending, replaced by a future where every person can be the master of their own local, private, and powerful intellectual ecosystem. As we move deeper into this transition, the concept of decentralized intelligence will become the new standard. In the old model, the cloud was the brain and your device was just a terminal, a window into someone else's computer. In the new reality, the edge is where the true innovation resides. The intelligence is no longer concentrated in massive, energy-hungry data centers in Silicon Valley. It is distributed across billions of local devices, from laptops in busy city centers to solar-powered tablets in remote villages. This means that intelligence is becoming a commodity, much like electricity or water, something that is always there, always accessible, and no longer subject to the whims or subscription models of a few massive corporations. This shift ensures a level of resilience that a centralized system could never match. If a single server goes down, the world's collective intelligence remains intact because it lives on the silicon in your pocket. Perhaps the most striking comparison for this moment in history is the birth of the Linux operating system. In the early days of computing, software was proprietary, closed, and controlled by a handful of giants. Linux changed everything by providing an open foundation that anyone could build upon, eventually becoming the invisible backbone of the entire modern world, from the servers that run the internet to the phones in our hands. Gemma 4 is the Linux of the AI era. By releasing these open weights, Google DeepMind has provided the foundation for the next 30 years of technological development. It allows the global community to experiment, improve, and adapt the technology in ways that a single company could never imagine. It turns a proprietary secret into a public utility, ensuring that the development of artificial intelligence is a collective human endeavor rather than a corporate race for dominance. The narrative is escalating from a simple chatbot interaction to a global network of independent local intelligences. Imagine a world where millions of these private digital brains are working together, sharing insights without ever compromising the privacy of their individual owners. This creates a mesh of intelligence that is far more robust and diverse than any single master AI could ever be. It allows for a diversity of thought and a variety of specialized models tailored to different languages, cultures, and scientific disciplines. This is the true meaning of decentralization. It is the move from a monologue dictated by a few corporate voices to a global symphony of billions of independent creators. The technical walls have crumbled, and the high-stakes gamble taken by Google has effectively broken the monopoly on the future. In the halls of Silicon Valley, the AI gatekeepers are realizing that the AI Iron Curtain can never be rebuilt. The individual user has tasted sovereignty, and there is no going back to the era of total dependency. This transition is not without its challenges, as the responsibility for ethics, safety, and truth now rests with the person operating the machine. However, the potential for human progress far outweighs the risks. We are seeing a new layer of reality being constructed, where the tools for solving the world's most complex problems are no longer locked behind a paywall. Whether it is a developer in the global south building an app to optimize local agriculture, or a researcher using Gemma 4 to find new patterns in medical data, the power of a god is now sitting on their hard drive, waiting to be directed. The final shift is not technical, but philosophical. We are entering the era of human sovereignty. For years, the narrative was that humans would eventually become obsolete or subservient to centralized machines. Gemma 4 flips that script entirely. It places the machine firmly in the role of the collaborator, a private library of infinite knowledge that serves the individual. The gatekeepers have left the building, and the keys to the future have been handed to you. The tools are now in your hands, and the only remaining question is what you will choose to build with this unprecedented power. This is the moment where the dependency ends and the true invention begins. This isn't just the end of the AI race. It is the beginning of a world where your intelligence is your own. The question isn't what Google will do next. It's what you will do. This is just the beginning.